Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath.
And I'm Bree.
And this is our trip report. We went to Vegas. Serial at Midnight goes Vegas. So I thought it would be fun. This is not going to be like when your grandparents show you slides of the Grand Canyon or anything like that. But we took a lot of video of like, it is going to be like that? Oh, okay.
Get ready.
And this is the airplane. Kitschy. This is the line to get into the bathroom. Mm-hmm. No, we went to a lot of cool places. Like, people might want to know, like, how does Serial at Midnight travel? Like, what do we do when we go to a town like Las Vegas? You know what we don't do? Gamble.
No, we didn't.
We didn't drop a
not one bit.
Not a single coin, not a penny. We didn't do a penny slide. We didn't do any gambling whatsoever. No like drinking or. We were going to museums and we were going to, like, you know, the lovely, I discovered the In-N-Out franchise. So let's just, look, we got lots of video, we got lots of photos, and we'll take you with us. So we haven't even talked about our own trip. Like, we haven't
discussed it since we got
yeah, but put our heads together. So we left we left out of our town. We flew Dallas. There was a lot more people traveling than I would have thought would have been traveling. And when we got into, it was kind of deceptive. We got into Vegas and like not a lot of people at the airport.
Right.
I remember walking out of the terminal and there was like one guy ahead of us.
Yeah,
and I
was
like,
not very
whoa.
crowded at all.
But that changed.
That's not representative of the city.
No, so we got into town about, was it 2
or 3?
2 or 3 o'clock, yeah. And took an Uber to the Flamingo Hotel. That's where we stayed. And I wanted to stay at the Flamingo because there's a lot of history there. That's that's where Bugsy Siegel, that's his hotel. For more information about Bugsy and the Flamingo, watch the movie Bugsy, starring and directed by Warren Beatty. I think it's the third oldest hotel / casino in Las Vegas that still stands.
Yeah.
There's a couple that are older, but it's got so much history there. Of course, so much, probably not a lot of it's original at this point, but I don't know. I wanted to stay there for the sense of history. Apparently there's a RuPaul connection too. Like apparently RuPaul, is it Drag Race that films it? Yeah, I don't know. So what do we do after that? We checked into our hotel, we put our stuff down. We went to discover the Link, right? Is that what we did after that?
Yes, we did.
So there's like a alley side street by our hotel that led to the LINQ, which was just a shopping street, you know. It's like one of the, and that leads to the big Ferris wheel thing, which was the high roller, which we did not do.
We didn't.
Because that's not our style, I guess. We did it in London.
We did do it in London.
We did do the Ferris wheel in London.
Yeah.
But we didn't do it here. What do we do? So
then we walked Caesar's Palace.
We walked Caesar's Palace. That was it, because it was directly across the street. Caesar's Palace was kind of amazing.
Yeah.
It was also overwhelming and kind of terrifying because one of the things, like I read guidebooks and stuff to figure all this stuff out before we do these things. And one of the things that I read is like so many of these casinos are built so that you can't get out.
Like a maze.
They're designed to be mazes, like corners that go nowhere and like honeycombs. Yeah. So that once you're in, you're in. And so we did have a moment of like, we got to get out of here. You know, you walk
we're
like
really deep in. It's very cool. I mean, it's a really interesting and you know, there's a lot of stuff there. I mean, you could walk around in there forever, which felt like we did.
The next day is when it really kicked in for us. So we kicked off the morning with, like, we went to there was a Starbucks in the Link area. So I walked out that morning, got us some coffee, got us some breakfast items, and brought it back to the room. And then we hit the ground, headed out. Where did we? So the first thing we did, we went to the Natural History Museum of Las Vegas, or the Las Vegas Natural History Museum.
Well, no, first we went to Fremont, didn't we? Or was that later in the day?
You're right. We did. First thing we did was we went to Fremont Street. The Fremont Street experience. Now, if you're familiar with, that's like the old Vegas. We were, you know, the Flamingo is kind of, there's, you know, this strip, right? So southern, kind of central to southern on the strip is where we were.
Which is where most of the tourists
where all the, it's very tourist. Yeah, it's the, you know, that's where all the hotels are. That's where the Luxor and the MGM and the Planet Hollywood, Bellagio. Yeah, we could see the fountain show from across our room. Like looking out our window, we could see, because we had street view. So we went to the Fremont Street experience. So that's where like Elvis's, you know, like the when I think of like 50s and 60s Vegas, I guess I'm thinking of kind of Fremont Street. That's they got the cowboy sign down there, which you guys are probably looking at right now. They've got and now there's like the names are failing because we're so tired. But there's the lady version, the cowgirl sign as well that has been moved inside of the what was it? Was it the Ciro? It started with a C. I don't remember the name of the casino, but you have to go inside, and it's like a 25-foot neon sign of a cowgirl. Cool. It's very cool.
Because it's inside now, I feel like it looks even more massive than it probably is.
Right. Yeah.
It just fills that whole space that it's in.
Also down there, you've got like all the. I feel like that's really where a lot of the Vegas history is, and they've covered it and canopied it, and there's like projection screens all over. It's like. Yeah. It's like going to Bourbon Street, New Orleans, right? Like it's the touristy of the tourist spots, with all the ugliness that comes with it.
We saw people zip lining like above under where it's covered. Like you could zip line down Fremont.
So Fremont Street was cool.
Mm-hmm. It was.
We did it. We ate a Dunkin' Donuts inside of one of the because that's what we also go cheap. Like we're kind of travel warriors the more I think about it. Like, we do things really frugally, and we do things, like, on our own terms. We don't pay people to do things for us.
No.
We're, like, hunting down, we have backpacks. We carried almost no luggage. We carried backpacks so we could just hit it and get out. That's how we did. It was less impressive the second time. Okay. You go. Carry us on.
Okay, so after Fremont, we went to the Natural History Museum.
Natural History Museum. I wanted to go there. You were not as enthused about this.
I like museums, but
I wanted to go because of the dinosaur connection to Nevada, and I had heard that they had a fossilized dinosaur, which I never saw.
Did you find that?
Never found it. I don't know if it's there anymore. But another reason I wanted to go is that back in the day, there was a big exhibit. It was like a King Tut exhibit at the Luxor Hotel, which is the pyramid with the Sphinx that comes out of it.
Yeah.
They had a big King Tut exhibit. In the 90s, I think, is when they built it. And they revamped the Luxor in past years, and that got donated. The entire exhibit got donated to the Natural History Museum. And I wanted to see that because it was
a replica
1-to-1. Like, all the artifacts were exact copies. It's one of only 2 officially licensed, like approved exhibits like that, where they have actual replicas of the exhibits of the artifact, of the tomb, the sarcophagus, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was cool. What did you think about that exhibit?
I liked it. It was interesting to see. If you plan to go to that museum, it doesn't take a whole lot of time.
Yeah, it's about an hour.
Yeah, if you have kids, it could take a little longer because they had a lot of buttons to push to see things and hear things. And
so on the same property as the Natural History Museum was the Old Mormon Fort. It's like the first structure built in Las Vegas, I guess.
Yeah, or in the state. I think in the state of
Nevada.
Nevada.
And so we
went through there.
We went through it.
I enjoyed.
And you're looking at it now. And that's.
I wasn't excited about going there, but then after we went, they had a lot of information about the history of Las Vegas before it was this entertainment capital, about how the city was actually founded, and it's
kind of founded by Mormons.
I found that interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the indigenous people were the first people there.
That's true.
I should say.
Yes. The fort, though, the beginnings of Vegas. I just mean the beginnings of Vegas as we would know it.
The structures that. Yeah. So anyway, that was a pretty cool experience. And then by the time we finished there, the Neon Museum opened, and that's where we went next.
Yeah, the Neon Museum was a third of a mile up a hill. So we were already kind of exhausted. The whole trip, just a constant state of exhaustion because we walked where we could. And we were doing 8 miles a day. With there were days where we had no meals until 5 o'clock at night.
That's true.
Not the best choice. But so we walked up to the Neon Museum. That was one of the things that we were going for. And you're wearing your Neon Museum shirt. It's what, for those of you who love this kind of stuff, Neon Museum was. It's like a junkyard for old neon signs, but they preserve these signs. It's the history of Las Vegas, so they've preserved all these old signs. They have light bulbs in them, and they're lit. If they're
not
lit,
all of
man.
them, but
if they're functioning, I think they had them going. So like the Stardust sign was there. The Hard Rock the old guitar from the Hard Rock Cafe. It's like 180 feet tall or something like that. The Sahara, like the sign from the back entrance of the Sahara, so much history. And again, you're looking at it because we have a ton of photos. No video is allowed, so I don't have video of this, but you're seeing all these cool signs. My favorite sign, or one of my favorite, I mean, the Stardust sign is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, it is.
One of my favorite signs was the laundry sign of the happy shirt. And like it was designed by the launderer's daughter, and it would like hands up, hands down, hands. And it's like a happy smiley face shirt. Sign. I bought it on a shirt, and so I was excited about that. But
yeah, that was a cool sign.
There's they have other experiences there, like you can do something after dark. It costs more money.
Yeah.
There's a show called Brilliant, which is also more money, and we didn't get to see those signs. They use like 3D projection to make them come to life because they're all old and stuff, but they would make them refreshed. I think for me that was probably my favorite attraction in Las Vegas is the Neon Museum. What about you?
Yeah, I think so too. I really enjoyed it. We should say, for anybody, if they plan to go there, you should make reservations.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't do that. I thought the reservations, on their website, they have a thing for reservations. I thought the reservations were for guided tours or for the show. But no, it's for everything. It's just to get in the door. And we did get lucky. They told us they had 2 spots left.
At the time we got there. So that worked out well. But you should probably make reservations anywhere you want to go if you can make reservations. Dining,
everything. The next day, we rented a car and we headed out into Red Rock Canyon, which is beautiful.
I'm proud of you for calling it Red Rock Canyon.
And not Red Rocks.
Like, that's like a drink.
Red Rocks. It's a national conservation area, huge natural space with mountains and canyons, and I mean you could shoot a western there and be very, and I'm sure they have.
Yeah, so they have a drive. You can drive. It's like, what was it?
7 kilometers.
7-kilometer drive. And they had places where you could pull off and you could stop and get out. And there were some people who were hiking and some people who were biking, and it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. I loved it. That was one of the things that I had wanted to do when we went there, is just to get out in nature. Because we live on the southeast, right? And so we're very, like, green, and we have, we have
lots of woods and forests and trees.
Yeah, we're in the woods country. So I love the desert and I love westerns and things like that. And so it's a landscape I don't have access to. And when we drove through California, we've done Route 66, so getting to drive through like New Mexico and Arizona and Nevada and even into California and stuff, like I love that landscape, and I just had to get out in it. So we did that. Then we went to so Seven Magic Mountains it's a roadside art installation. These people have basically built 7 towers of colored rocks. In the middle of nowhere. Yeah. You have to you can see them from the interstate, but to access them you have to get off the interstate. It's on was it I-15 going south? No, anyway, it's the interstate going into California.
They can look it up if they want.
Yeah, okay.
It's easy to find.
But it's free. You just get out of your car and go look at it. And it was like in the middle of a dust storm when we were doing it. So
it was so windy. And there were a ton of people there too.
There were so many people there.
I mean, there's now like sort of a gravel parking area because so many people come.
This is very cool. It's about 20 miles south of Las Vegas, I guess. I think 17 miles. So we head back into town. We go to the National Atomic Testing Museum, because the history of the atomic bomb in Nevada and all that stuff, it's very closely associated. So right out of the gate, when we walk in the door, to the left over here is a like life-size version of Robbie the Robot. this, which we've unboxed here on the channel. They had a life-size version of this that I got to. I don't think it was original. I don't think it was like a movie prop. It had no plaque or anything like that.
I doubt that it was, because if it was, they would have advertised that.
Yeah, but it was just cool because it was there and it was real. And so the museum, well, you can talk about you really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. It was
every sign,
I didn't read everything, but I read a lot of it. I mean, it was just really interesting. A lot of the history and how, it was developed and tested in so many different ways. It was tested above ground, and then they moved it below ground, and they had a lot of stuff there, and they had a place where you could go and sit in the theater and sort of like experience what it was like to be there for testing, like the brightness and the noise and everything. And then they interviewed some people and they talked about it, and it was fine. It was a good movie.
At one point in time, there had been an Area 51 exhibit inside of the museum. That was one of the selling points for me, but it's not there anymore. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
What do we do after that?
I think we went back to the room for a while after that.
That's right. I got another In-N-Out burger. There was an In-N-Out on the link, and so I hit it twice. And I bought 3 shirts. In-N-Out was honestly one of my favorite things about Las Vegas. They're a California chain. You hear all these Californians talking about In-N-Out Burger. They're like, oh, you got a good In-N-Out Burger. People we know, like Chicago people that we know, like our friends in Chicago, like the first thing we do when we get to California is we go to In-N-Out Burger.
So interesting.
Everybody loves In-N-Out Burger. I think, comparably, because they're only in like 4 states, I think, maybe 5. They are comparable to like a Steak and Shake. It's not like the best burger in the world, but it's very distinct. I think it's the culture, because they market that very retro 50s drive-through culture, Southern California car culture, hot rods, drag racing. That's all, the palm trees, the sunsets, that's all in the marketing. And I think that's a big part of the appeal. And I've been wanting to go there for forever, and I finally did. And I went all in on In-N-Out Burger. So,
whereas I'm like, what's that?
Yeah. Well, we've tried 2 of the 3 shake flavors too. We tried the strawberry and we tried the vanilla. We didn't try the chocolate, so next time. But honestly, In-N-Out was one of my favorite things that we did. That night we went to Giordano. Oh, we went to the Sign. Of course, we didn't talk about going to the Sign.
I don't remember when we went, but we went to the Sign.
One of the nights we went to the Sign. It was right at sunset, so it was too dark to get a picture of us in front of the Sign. So I just shot the Sign as best as I could.
You got some good shots of the Sign.
I think they're really good, and I've probably used it a lot during this video. So Giordano's, which is a Chicago pizzeria that we like when we're in Chicago, they had one of those in the hotel. And it was in Bally's, yeah.
And it was good.
It was good. What else? There's that candy store. I loved that candy store.
There were a couple different candy stores. Heath's a big fan of candy stores.
Yeah. And I can eat less candy the older I get, but it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the colors and the experience of candy. And going into a candy store like that where it's just dedicated to, they had a Jelly Bean Elvis and a Jelly Bean Marilyn Monroe, which you guys are looking at right now. Love that stuff. Absolutely. Loved the branding on the side of the building. They'd taken all these black and white photos of celebrities like Cher and like Lucille Ball is the one I remember the most, because it was a shot of her with a cigarette, and they'd replaced the cigarette with a sucker, so she's just like holding this.
Those were cool pictures. My memory is that they were black and white, and that the candy was
color.
Was in color.
Yeah,
and so it was pretty distinct.
Yes. What else did we do? I feel like we did more than we're talking about. Look, it was just jam-packed.
It was jam-packed because that was over 2 days.
They were like 16-hour days.
Yeah.
We were just...
just walked around and looked at things, and there's a ton of shops and...
Yeah. I think we saw everything. Just about everything. We didn't go into every casino.
No.
And I would like to do that maybe I'd like to go into the Excalibur, and I'd like to go into the Luxor and just look at stuff. We didn't do that. But we did...
Well, some of our trip was taken up by the bus.
Yeah.
So the bus is a way you can get around...
The Deuce.
Up and down the Strip. But you need to plan that you're going to have to wait for the bus. And at certain times of the day, it's going to be more crowded on the Strip, so the bus might be full and you won't be able to get on. You'll have to wait for the next one. We waited through 2 buses at one point.
It was a Wednesday.
Got on the third one.
On a Wednesday at about 5 or 6 o'clock. It took 3 buses before we could actually get on one. That be prepared that
there could be a wait. And also the first bus we got on, we got like 2 stops away and it got a flat tire and we had to get off.
Yeah.
So we had to walk, we walked out to another stop.
That was a bad experience because we were we got to get to Fremont Street.
It was starting our day.
It was starting our day. We were trying to get to Fremont Street, which was like 4 miles up the road. We get on the bus gets a flat tire.
We opted not to walk the 4 miles.
And it was like another hour before we were able to get back on another bus. Just the way it worked out because I'll say this, bus transportation is not nearly as reliable as Uber is if you can afford the Uber.
Or renting a car.
It seems like the bus is a good deal, but if you're waiting 30 minutes to an hour between buses, which you're not supposed to, but we clearly were, and those buses are full, because that's a possibility too, then it's not worth it. Also, like, there were just so many people there. I don't think we got there on a Tuesday, and we thought it was busy, and it got progressively busier as we got into the week. And by Thursday, you could tell people were just coming for the weekend, adding that extra day for a long weekend. And I mean, it was like Times Square in New York City. It was just unbelievable. But we had a really good time. Like, I'm really glad we went. It's we got to do almost everything that we wanted to do. The only thing that was really on my agenda that we didn't get to do was that in Baker, California, which is, it's about an hour and 15 minutes outside of Las Vegas on the way to Los Angeles. There's Alien Fresh Jerky. Like Adam the Woo, if you guys watch Adam the Woo, he did a video there. It's this really cool roadside attraction, gas station, jerky stand. It's all themed for aliens. They've got cool cars in the parking lot with aliens inside of the cars. I really wanted to go, but we just ran out of time.
Yeah, we just had to choose. We had to prioritize.
Yeah.
Well, you also wanted to do the Mob Museum, and we didn't.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't do the Mob Museum either.
Yeah.
But
so we would probably want to do those things if we went back, and also maybe like the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, Hoover Dam is like, it's like I think it's less than an hour outside of the city, and you could just go and come back, and I think it's 30 miles. I think that's how far out it is. So I don't know. How do you feel about the trip? But are you glad we went? Do you have a good? I mean, we're exhausted, right? Because of the way we do it, but.
Well, not just that. I'll say. As we're getting older, sleep is much more important.
Oh, yeah.
If you would like to sleep on your trip, don't stay on the Strip.
Tell people what you heard in the hall at whatever, in the middle of the night, what the woman said. Tell people.
Should I say that?
We've already referenced jazz cigarettes multiple times. Okay. You might as well.
But this has nothing to do with that. Oh, so in the hallway.
You're trying to sleep at 3 a.m.
Hear people partying most of the night, and then I was awakened to a woman screaming in the hallway that she's a hoe. She screamed it really loud 3 times in a row, and I was like, "Thanks for letting us know at like 3 in the morning."
I'm a hoe. 3 times.
Yeah, I was like, "Okay."
This seems to follow us wherever we go. Do you remember we went to Orlando? We went to Disney World I don't know, it was like 8 years ago, and you don't love mascots. No. We go to Orlando, the hotel where we're staying at, it's off property. I think this was the trigger for us. We're like, never stay off property in Orlando again at Disney World. Only stay on property. There was a furry convention in the hotel where we were staying at. So
we had no idea that was going to be there.
No. And so in the middle of the night, there's people howling in the hallways, like their dogs and stuff. There was some guy like in the elevator. He was like sadly putting on his tail, and I think he was embarrassed. He was like, "Yeah, it's just me putting on my tail. I'm here for the furry action." Because like that's this whole fetish thing, right? Is that the furry fetish and stuff?
And it was legit. It's fine, but
that's also the trip where we'll just give them a little bit more insight into our life. Where you ordered a coffee at the coffee stand in that hotel, and she asked you if you wanted sugar.
No, she didn't ask me anything. Did she ask me?
Well,
I think she just handed it to me and said, "It don't come sweet."
It don't come sweet. And so for almost a decade now, we've been using that when like, hey.
It
don't come sweet. It applies to many situations. Mm-hmm. You know what? You get awakened by someone screaming in the hallway that I'm a hoe 3 times in the middle of the night. It don't come sweet.
So anyway, that's my only thing is if you...
The motorcycles, too. We gotta
the motorcycles, too.
Like...
Yeah, all night.
It's like Akira, like motorcycle gangs as seen in the movie Akira. Like there are so many motorcycle gangs and they would ride up and down the strip and they would just stop in front of hotels and be like, wah, 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 like not moving, just like, like, look at us. Like, yeah, we see you. You really need to be seen, don't you? Like you really need that attention. That's something like all hours of the night, 3 a.m. Wah, 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 wah.
Yes.
And if you're trying to sleep and you don't, I had earplugs and I slept like a baby. Like I slept so well, but you did not, and
I think all the nights we were there, I got an average of like maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, which is terrible, and that's gonna make it harder. That's gonna make it harder for you to enjoy your day if you haven't had adequate sleep to recharge your batteries. If you haven't had the In-N-Out burgers to give you fuel. It's the best form of fuel is an In-N-Out burger, I gotta tell you. You're not sold on the In-N-Out burger. You're like, eh.
It was just fine. Maybe it is just the culture around it.
I love a burger.
You do. That's your favorite
I'm a burger
food,
fan. I'm a burger fan. Well, I recommend it. I think if people are watching this video and they're thinking about a Las Vegas trip, but they're not big on gambling, drinking, partying.
Yeah.
You know, if you're 55 years old, which let's face it, we got a lot of like older people in our audience because we talk about like Audie Murphy westerns.
I don't know that it's necessarily based on age too. I mean, there are plenty of older people partying and gambling, and if that's your thing, that's fine. But if it's not your thing, I wouldn't recommend staying on the Strip or...
Yeah. Where would we stay? I mean, there's a lot of places.
There are hotels that are not on the Strip.
Well, there
more
are,
quiet
for
areas.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, and I know that because that's where I stayed when I went 12 years ago.
Okay.
So...
Yeah, it was your second time there.
Yeah.
And you were one of those people partying in the hallways, right? When you went. You were like,
oh, yeah.
Like,
that's totally me.
You were on one of those motorcycles. So, I don't know. I think it was a great trip. I've been wanting to go for years. I was planning this trip a year ago when the health crisis hit. I was literally looking at flights, trying to pick the best flight and the best day when they were like, guess what? Las Vegas is closing. I was like, oh, crap. So I've been planning this for a long time. Definitely will be going back. And when we go back, we can do other things and we can do different things because there's certainly a lot to do there.
I think the Grand Canyon's pretty close as well. Isn't it?
It's a day trip.
Oh, it is. Well, how
and
far
people
away
recommend you. I don't remember off the top of my head. If I I'll put it down here. But it was. I mean, it's everything I read said stay overnight, so you don't have to try to do it all in one day.
What, the Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the Hoover Dam is definitely. I mean, that's like a 2-hour turnaround.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our trip report. We hope you enjoyed it. This is, the foundation of Serial at Midnight was also founded on travel. Some of our earliest videos were going to places and checking out cool, kitschy, weird things. The fruitcake capital of the world, the town called Santa Claus. We love this stuff. Now that hopefully the world is opening back up a little bit, we'll get to do more and more of this. Give us some feedback on what you think about this travel reports. What's your favorite part of Vegas? Have you been to the Alien Fresh Jerky place in Baker, California? Continue the conversation in the comments below. And until next time, we will catch you later. And remember, it don't come sweet.